My fiancé said, "My friends think you're too plain for me. Being with you lowers my image." I replied, "Good to know." That same day, I quietly canceled the decorator, the photographer, everything. 3 nights later, her maid of honor showed up at my door trembling. "Please, don't hang up on her. You need to hear what she admitted tonight." I'm Martin, 34, and 4 days ago, my fiancé told me I was damaging her social status. By the time her maid of honor was standing on my doorstep begging me to listen, I'd already dismantled our entire wedding and made peace with the fact that the woman I'd planned to marry cared more about appearances than about me. I'd been with Natalie for 3 years, engaged for 7 months. We met at a mutual friend's party when I was 31 and she was 29. She worked in PR for a luxury fashion brand, always immaculately dressed, always networking, always aware of how things looked. I'm a civil engineer, stable job, good income, nothing flashy. I wear khakis and button-downs most days. I drive a reliable sedan. I'm not exciting or glamorous, but I thought what we had was real. The wedding was set for 2 months away. We'd been planning for months, venue booked, invitations sent, deposits paid on everything from the florist to the DJ. Natalie had been increasingly stressed about wedding details, but I figured that was normal. What I didn't realize was that she was stressed about me. Last Monday afternoon, I came home early from a site inspection. Natalie worked from home that day and was on a video call in the living room. I heard her voice as I walked in, didn't think much of it, started heading to the bedroom to change. Then I heard my name. I know, she was saying. Martin's just so plain, like he's nice and stable and whatever, but my friends keep asking what I see in him. He doesn't have the look or the lifestyle. Being with him genuinely lowers my image. I stopped in the hallway. It's embarrassing sometimes, she continued. Like at that gallery opening last week? Everyone there was in designer everything, talking about their trips to Milan and Tokyo, and Martin shows up in a department store blazer talking about drainage systems. I love him, but God, he's just so boring. Whoever she was talking to said something I couldn't hear. I don't know. Natalie sighed. The wedding's already planned. Maybe once we're married I don't know, work on his image, get him to dress better, network more. He just needs to be less himself. I stood there for probably a full minute processing what I'd heard. Then I quietly backed out of the apartment, went to my car, and drove to a coffee shop. I sat there for 2 hours thinking. My phone buzzed multiple times with texts from Natalie asking where I was. I didn't respond. I was too busy making a list of every wedding vendor we'd hired. By the time I went back to the apartment around 7 p.m., I'd made up my mind. Natalie was in the kitchen making dinner, acting completely normal. Where were you? She asked. I texted you like 5 times. Had some things to take care of. What things? Just work stuff. She seemed satisfied with that answer. We ate dinner, watched TV, went to bed. She had no idea I'd overheard anything, and I didn't tell her. Tuesday morning, after Natalie left for her office downtown, I started making calls. First, the venue. They had a cancellation policy that was brutal. We'd lose about 60% of our deposit, but I didn't care. Canceled. Then the photographer, the florist, the caterer, the DJ, the decorator Natalie had hired to do the reception setup. One by one, I canceled everything. Some vendors were understanding, some were annoyed. All of them processed my cancellations. The wedding dress was already paid for, and in Natalie's possession, nothing I could do about that. Same with the invitations, already sent. But everything else that could be canceled, I canceled. By Tuesday afternoon, I'd dismantled our entire wedding. I'd lost thousands in deposits, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to marry someone who thought I was an embarrassment, who saw me as a project to be fixed, who told her friends that being with me lowered her image. That evening, Natalie was talking about final details for the wedding. Which wine to serve, whether to have a chocolate fountain, all these little decisions. I just nodded along, gave opinions when she asked, acted normal. She had no idea that none of it mattered anymore because there wasn't going to be a wedding. Wednesday morning, I packed a bag while Natalie was in the shower. Not everything, just enough for a few days. When she came out, I was sitting on the bed. "I'm going to stay at my brother's place for a bit," I said. "What? Why?" "I need some space, wedding stress. Just need a few days to clear my head." She looked concerned, but not alarmed. "Okay, do you want to talk about what's bothering you?" "Not right now. I just need some time." She accepted that, kissed me goodbye, told me to text her later. I left. I went to my brother David's house. He lives about 30 minutes away, has a spare room, and asked no questions when I showed up with a bag. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Not really. I'll explain later." That evening, Wednesday evening, I got my first text from the venue. They'd sent a confirmation email to both me and Natalie about the cancellation. Standard procedure. Natalie called immediately. "Martin, I just got an email saying our venue is canceled. Is this a mistake?" "No mistake." "What do you mean, no mistake? Why would they cancel?" "I canceled it Tuesday morning." "You, what? Why would you cancel our wedding venue?" "Because I'm canceling the wedding." Silence. Then, what are you talking about? "I'm talking about the fact that I overheard your video call on Monday. The one where you told whoever you were talking to that I'm plain, boring, and being with me lowers your image. The one where you said I'm an embarrassment." More silence. Then quietly, "You heard that?" Every word. "So yeah, I canceled the venue. And the photographer. And the florist, caterer, DJ, decorator, all of it. There's no wedding, Natalie, we're done." "Martin, wait, let me explain." I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She texted, "Please let me explain." It wasn't how it sounded. I was venting. "Please." I turned off my phone. Update 1. Thursday. I took a personal day from work. Spent most of it at David's, watching TV, not really processing anything. My phone was still off. David finally asked what was going on around lunchtime. I told him everything. The overheard conversation, the canceled wedding, all of it. He just shook his head. "Jesus, man, I'm sorry, that's brutal. Am I crazy for canceling everything without talking to her first? Are you kidding? She told someone you're an embarrassment, that you lower her image. What were you supposed to do, marry her anyway and hope she stops being ashamed of you?" He had a point. Thursday evening, I turned my phone back on. 73 notifications. Texts from Natalie, voicemails from Natalie, missed calls from Natalie, texts from her friends, texts from my friends asking what was going on. I ignored all of them except one, a text from my mom asking if I was okay. I called her. "Martin, honey, what's happening? Natalie called me crying saying you canceled the wedding." "I did. It's complicated, Mom. But yeah, there's no wedding." "What happened?" I told her. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. You did the right thing." "Did I? I lost thousands of dollars in deposits. I blew up a 3-year relationship without even having a conversation." "You didn't blow anything up. She did when she decided you weren't good enough for her image. You just refused to accept that treatment. That's not the same thing." We talked for another hour. My mom has always been good at seeing through nonsense. By the end of the call, I felt more certain about my decision. Friday morning, I texted Natalie. "I'm at David's. I'll come by the apartment Sunday to get more of my things. Please be out when I'm there." She responded immediately. "Please, can we just talk in person? I made a terrible mistake. I didn't mean what I said." "You absolutely meant it. Sunday, noon, don't be there." I spent Friday and Saturday in a weird limbo. Not really sad, not really angry, just numb. David kept checking on me, making sure I ate, not pushing me to talk when I didn't want to. Saturday night around 10 p.m., there was a knock at David's door. He answered it. I heard a woman's voice, then David came to the spare room. "It's someone named Claire. Says she's Natalie's maid of honor. Says it's urgent." I went to the door. Claire was standing there looking genuinely upset, almost trembling. We'd met a few times. She and Natalie had been friends since college. She seemed nice enough, though I'd never gotten to know her well. "Martin, please don't hang up on Natalie," she said immediately. "I know you're angry, but you need to hear what she told me tonight. Please." "What did she tell you?" "Can I come in? I don't want to have this conversation on the doorstep." I let her in. David made himself scarce. Claire sat on the couch. I sat across from her in a chair. "What's going on, Claire?" "Natalie called me tonight completely hysterical. Kept saying she'd ruined everything, that she didn't know what to do. I went over to your apartment. She was drunk, crying, barely coherent. I asked her what happened and she told me about the video call you overheard." "Okay, so?" "So I asked her why she'd said those things about you, and she broke down completely. Martin, she was on a video call with her ex-boyfriend." I just stared at her. "What?" "Her ex, the guy she dated before you. Apparently they've been talking again for a few months. Nothing physical, or at least that's what she claims, but emotional cheating for sure. He reached out after he saw her engagement announcement on social media. They'd been having these long conversations about their past relationship, about regrets, about what could have been. And she told him I was an embarrassment. She told him what she thought he wanted to hear. She was trying to convince him and herself that marrying you was a mistake, that you weren't good enough, that she'd made the wrong choice. I felt like I'd been punched. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she asked me to. She said you deserve to know the whole truth. She said what she told him wasn't really how she feels about you. It was her trying to justify to herself why she was emotionally cheating. Like if she could make you sound bad enough, then what she was doing with her ex wasn't as wrong." "That doesn't make it better, Claire. That makes it worse." "I know." I told her the same thing. But she wanted you to know she wasn't just randomly bad-mouthing you to friends. She was trying to convince her ex and herself that leaving you for him would be the right move. Was she planning to leave me? I don't know. She says no. She says she loves you and was just confused and made terrible choices. But honestly, I think she was testing the waters, seeing if her ex would take her back. When you overheard and canceled everything, it forced her hand before she was ready. Update 2. Claire left around 11 p.m. Said Natalie wanted to talk to me, wanted to explain everything herself, begged me to hear her out. I said I'd think about it. She gave me this sad look and said, "For what it's worth, I think you deserve better than this." But I promised her I'd try. Sunday morning, I went to the apartment as planned. Natalie wasn't there. She'd respected my request to leave. But she'd left a letter on the kitchen counter. 6 pages, handwritten, explaining everything. She confirmed what Claire told me. Her ex, Blake, had reached out 4 months ago. They'd been talking regularly. She'd developed feelings again. Or maybe they'd never gone away. She'd been confused about whether she was making the right choice marrying me. The video call where she'd trashed me was her trying to convince Blake that she wasn't happy, that I wasn't right for her, that they should try again. But Blake had told her no. He was seeing someone else seriously and wasn't interested in reviving their relationship. That was why Natalie had stayed with me, was going through with the wedding, because her backup plan hadn't worked out. The letter was full of apologies. She said she did love me, that she'd made terrible mistakes, that she wanted to fix things. She said she'd cut off contact with Blake completely. She said she was so sorry for hurting me. I read it twice. Then I tore it up and threw it away. I packed up my things, clothes, books, personal items. Took about 3 hours. Left my key on the counter, left a note of my own. We're done. Don't contact me again. I've already started the process of getting my name off the lease. You have 60 days to refinance or find a new place. I went back to David's. That afternoon, I called my lawyer to discuss the lease situation and any other loose ends. Monday morning, I called our wedding officiant, one of the few vendors I hadn't been able to cancel immediately, officially called off the ceremony. By Monday evening, I'd closed the loop on everything, No wedding, no fiancé, no shared apartment. Clean break. Update 3. It's been 3 weeks since I overheard that video call. The wedding would have been next month. Instead, I'm living temporarily at David's while I look for my own place. Natalie has tried to reach out multiple times. Texts, emails, showing up at David's place once until he told her to leave. She wants closure, wants to explain, wants to apologize in person. I've ignored everything. There's nothing she can say that would change what happened. Claire texted me about a week after that Saturday night conversation. I'm sorry for how this all turned out. Natalie is genuinely devastated. She knows she screwed up. I'm not asking you to forgive her, but I thought you should know she's struggling. I responded, I appreciate you being honest with me, but her being devastated doesn't change what she did. She tried to trade me in for an ex who didn't want her. I was her second choice, her backup plan. I deserve better than that. Claire wrote back, You're right. You do deserve better. I told her the same thing. I'm sorry you went through this. That was the last time we communicated. My parents have been supportive. My mom keeps saying I dodged a bullet. My dad told me he was proud of me for standing up for myself, which coming from him means a lot. Friends have been divided. Some think I overreacted by canceling everything without confronting Natalie first. Others think I did what needed to be done. The financial hit was significant. Between lost deposits and breaking the lease early, I'm out about $18,000. Expensive lesson, but worth every penny to avoid marrying someone who saw me as an embarrassment and a placeholder. I found an apartment last week. Small 1-bedroom, nothing fancy, but it's in a good neighborhood and the rent is reasonable. I move in next weekend. Fresh start. Final update. It's been 4 months since I canceled the wedding. The date we would have gotten married came and went 2 months ago. I spent that day hiking with David, deliberately not thinking about what might have been. I'm settled into my new apartment now. It's small, but comfortable. I've been focusing on work, picked up some freelance consulting projects on the side, started going to the gym regularly, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the relationship. I'm doing okay. Natalie reached out one last time about 6 weeks ago. She sent a long email, not asking to get back together, just apologizing and explaining. She said she'd been in therapy, working through why she'd sabotaged our relationship. She said she realized she'd never fully gotten over Blake, that when he reached out, it reopened old wounds she thought had healed. She said seeing me as plain or boring was her projecting her own insecurities, trying to justify to herself why she was emotionally cheating. The email ended with, I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't expect you to. I just wanted you to know that losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. You were good to me, and I threw it away for someone who didn't want me. I'm sorry for wasting 3 years of your life. You deserve someone who sees how incredible you are, not someone who tries to change you. I hope you find that person. I read it once and deleted it. Didn't respond. There was nothing to say. I ran into one of Natalie's friends last month. Not Claire, someone else from her circle. She recognized me at a coffee shop and came over to say hi. We chatted briefly. She told me Natalie had moved to a different city, took a new job, was trying to start fresh. I said I hoped things worked out for her. The friend gave me this sympathetic look and said, She really did love you, you know. She just didn't know how to handle it when her past came back. I just nodded. Maybe she did love me. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it doesn't change what she did. I went on a few dates recently. Nothing serious yet, but I'm open to it. I'm more cautious now about red flags, about people who see me as a project to be improved rather than a person to be appreciated. I know what I bring to a relationship: stability, loyalty, consistency. Those aren't exciting qualities, but they're valuable. If someone can't see that, they're not right for me. David asked me last week if I regretted how I handled everything, if I wished I'd confronted Natalie immediately instead of just canceling everything and leaving. No, I said. If I'd confronted her right away, she would have tried to explain it away, gaslight me into thinking I'd misunderstood. By the time I found out about Blake, the wedding was already canceled, and I was already out. She couldn't manipulate the situation or convince me to give her another chance. That's pretty calculated, David said. Maybe. But I protected myself. That's what matters. He nodded. Mom said you're doing better. Said you seem happier than you've been in a while. I am happier. Turns out when you're not with someone who's embarrassed by you, life gets a lot more peaceful. I learned a lot from this situation. I learned that when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Natalie told her ex actually, but I overheard, that I was too plain for her, that being with me lowered her image. That was the truth. Everything that came after, the apologies, the explanations, the therapy revelations, was just her trying to manage the fallout. I learned that being someone's backup plan is worse than being alone. Natalie would have married me not because she chose me, but because Blake didn't choose her. I would have been her consolation prize, the safe option when the exciting option wasn't available. I deserve better than that. I learned that canceling a wedding is expensive, but not as expensive as divorcing someone who never really wanted you in the first place. Most importantly, I learned that I'm enough exactly as I am. I'm a civil engineer who wears khakis and drives a practical car. I'm not glamorous or exciting. I'm stable, reliable, maybe a little boring. And that's okay. The right person will see those qualities as assets, not liabilities. Natalie wasn't that person. Someday, I'll find someone who is. I'm Martin, 34, single, living in a small apartment, rebuilding my life after calling off a wedding 4 months before it was supposed to happen. Some days are harder than others, but most days, I'm glad I walked away when I did. I'm glad I chose myself over someone who saw me as too plain, too boring, too much of an image problem. I'm glad I recognized that I deserved better than being someone's second choice. That's enough for me.